Hello, welcome to your weekly Pick Your Crystal reading here at Soulprint. Thank you very, very much for joining me today. All right, so we have three crystals to choose from. We're going with green, clear, and pink. Um, just take a moment, look at the crystals, and see which one resonates, or two, or three resonate with you, call out to you. Very often, people are, you guys are using pendulums to help you make a decision. But take a moment and let's look. And let's look at the cards as we start. We're going to start with the green, followed by the clear, followed by the pink, and the timestamps are below for you. All right, here we go with the green. Ace of Wands, new communications coming in. Queen of Swords, Five of Wands, Hierophant. All right. So, the first thing that comes to mind, and this is an example, but we'll build on that. So the first thing that comes to mind when I look at these cards is there has been some communication or some sort of a new beginning, some sort of an action or an initiative that you have to take, something that needs to move forward. Followed by the Queen of Swords, and that very much feels like um, sort of a very efficient, sort of no nonsense kind of energy. But because it's swords, it really does feel like it has something to do with documentation, the law, legal situations, that kind of thing. Five of Wands is telling me that whatever this is about, there's a little bit of sort of um, not fighting, but it feels sort of like, big discussions going on and not everybody's kind of on the same page. And then ultimately you have the Hierophant, which is, a large agency, a large government agency. It could be a mentor, somebody who's giving you advice. The first thing I saw when I looked at this was something is going on, and it created a need for you to literally look at your will, your power of attorney, your personal directive. Um, if you don't have them, perhaps you're thinking about getting them put in place or reviewing them. Because this is the Queen of Swords, it really does feel like some kind of a documentation or a legal document that needs to be created. Perhaps there is some discussion, and whether that might, if it's a will, something perhaps like there might be some conversations about distribution of certain assets, or, who gets what. And ultimately it ends up going, to a lawyer, or getting registered or filed. And so the whole thing kind of comes together like that. Now, certainly not every single one of you are going to be out there and need to update your will or create a will, but it's that energy, right? It's that energy of the need to move forward with something that is communicated. So the written word, correspondence, and email, information coming in that is creating this energy and this feeling of needing to get your thoughts in order, looking at what your ambitions are for a certain situation. It, 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 it you know um it trying to ensure that whatever you're doing, you're minimizing whatever conflict potentials there are out there. And the Hierophant again, it going to somebody in authority, or somebody, with wisdom in this area. So, are you signing a lease and it needs to be looked over? Has there been some back and forth about what's covered in the lease or the cost? And ultimately, it gets straightened out and it's filed in a legal manner. And there very well may be the help of somebody who um, maybe it's just more knowledgeable than you, right? If you're signing a lease, for example, maybe you have a friend who, is a lawyer or a paralegal and can look at it and say, okay, well, maybe think about that or look at this. So this is the kind of energy around these cards. It's not a bad thing, right? I mean, just moving forward, but whatever it is, it needs to get done. So you should get it done. All right. And crystal, clear crystal. Here we go. King of Wands, Five of Swords, the Tower, and the Knight of Cups. All right. Don't freak out. Don't freak out. It's all good. All right. So, the Knight of Wands is bringing forward an energy that very often can talk about changing a residence, or sometimes going on a long journey. um, the King of Wands is sort of entrepreneurial. It's dynamic. Sometimes decisions can be made kind of in a bit of a rush, but there's definitely a sense of authority, and there's definitely a sense of change, um, either literally physical change or change within communications or correspondence. The Five of Swords is, it talks about deceit, hidden agendas, unfair dealings, people, a situation that is not looking like it is sort of fair and equitable, if you will. The Tower is coming forward to suggest to you that it may be time for something that has not been as solid or as stable as you hoped or perceived. It may be time for that to come to an end. Everybody freaks out when they see the Tower card, but really what the Tower card is basically saying is that a change needs to happen, or you're in the process of a significant change, because the foundation, whatever it was based on, is not solid, never was solid, or is no longer solid. And so that's what that shift is. But listen, when these changes happen to us, 9 times out of 10, instead of going, oh my God, we're basically going, thank God, right? So it's not a terrible, terrible energy here. And the Knight of Cups is just interesting because the Knight of Cups is about love and sometimes proposals and romance. It's about relationships moving forward. So this is really really an interesting grouping of cards, because on the one hand, you're starting out sort of very, very powerful with this dynamic kind of forceful energy. Then there is this awareness that things are not equitable, or that there is something untoward that is going on with the situation. And that causes a review. And the review might actually end up tearing something down in order to rebuild it in a more solid way. And ultimately that then takes you to that place where, like, literally you're in love with how things are moving forward. You're very pleased, you're very happy, whether it is a relationship or a friendship or a business deal. It all ultimately ends up in this place where you're very, very pleased with the energy. But whatever this is in the middle is something that you're actually going to need to go through in order to make sure that you end up in the best possible place and position at the end of this. So, you know, look at delays or bumps in the road, um, sort of as a good thing or a protective thing. One of my most favorite expressions is that um, rejection is protection. I'm going to say that again. Rejection is protection. So, very, very often, when we are able to look back in time, we can see where a situation where was because we were rejected from one situation, it opened up a pathway to another one that was far, far better for us. Or it prevented us from making a mistake that might have ended up being very costly, and whether that is financially or emotionally or whatever have you. So don't view whatever this is in the center necessarily as something horrible and negative. Recognize that there are times when these kinds of energies come forward because spirit is trying to help you move yourself forward into a far more um, strengthened and happier position. And let's look at the pink quartz. Judgment. Six of Wands. The Hermit. And Four Pentacles. All right. So the Judgment card, literally sometimes it's just that literal, right? There's a judgment you have been waiting for. There's a decision that you've been waiting for. It very often, this kind of energy can have a reflection of things that are karmic for the good or the bad. But there's definitely an energy of an evaluation going on, or um, a need to make judgments, a need to make decisions. The Six of Wands is letting you know that ultimately you're going to end up making a really good decision or the right decision, because very often the Six of Wands literally is a victory card, right? It is about success, achievements, promotions, being recognized, that kind of energy. The Hermit is interesting because the Hermit is sort of about quiet reflection. It's about retreating a little bit and kind of getting clear with your own thoughts, with the way you're perceiving something or looking at something. And the Four of Pentacles is basically a holding card. It's telling you to hold on to what you have. This is not the time to um, be reckless, particularly when it comes to tangible things, whether that is your finances, investments, whether it has something to do with making some sort of a financial long-term commitment. Perhaps you're looking at buying something larger, a car, a home, something like that. You're being asked to make sure that what you're doing is something that you can manage, and that you don't basically bite off more than you can chew. And because the Hermit is sitting here in front of that, it's asking you to reflect, think about it, think it through very, very carefully, because you have the potential here for great success if the decisions and choices you make are are the right ones. And sometimes when we're trying to make a decision or a choice, one of the easier ways of making it is to simply ask yourself, how does this benefit my soul's path? How does this bring me to a higher level of understanding, vibration, or energy? And very, very often, one choice over the other, becomes sort of clear. But whatever this is, ultimately, you're going to make the right one, but you need to be mindful and um not be like too quick to scatter the abundance. um Now, there's also a warning with this card that basically says, and don't become so miserly and cautious and fearful that you don't do anything. Um, so it is about, and maybe that's why the Hermit is there asking you to reflect, so you can find the balance of how to do what you're trying to do in the most successful and productive way. All right. Thank you very, very much for being here. I wish you an amazing week forward. I look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks for being here. Bye bye.